What could cause a fortified Russian military base to collapse in under an hour? In the early hours of July 18, 2025, the skies above Zelenaya Dolina blazed with 72 missiles, 200 drones, and a perfectly coordinated Ukrainian assault, wiping out over 1,000 Russian soldiers with almost no resistance. What really happened on that fateful night? How did Ukraine turn technology strategy and sheer courage into a strike that shifted the war's tide drop comment? #1 to join us in uncovering the secrets behind this stunning victory, a story of power, precision, and unrelenting determination. Don't miss out. On July 18, 2025, the night sky over Donetsk, once Ukrainian territory now occupied by Russia, was torn apart by fire, smoke, and steel. Russian radar systems suddenly lost signal. Then 72 missiles roared from the ground, striking targets with pinpoint accuracy. Fuel depots erupted like volcanoes. Ammunition bunkers vanished in fireballs, and the entire stronghold was reduced to ashes in under 7 minutes. High above F-15 jets unleashed a barrage of jamming bombs like a storm. On the ground, 200 drones disrupted everything Russia had. Below, 50 tanks advanced behind a wall of dust and fire. But that's only what the satellites captured. What really happened inside Zelenaya Dolina? How did an elite Russian command center collapse without any resistance? And why did over 1,000 Russian soldiers vanish in under an hour? Some say it was technology. Others say it was strategy. What's certain is something shifted that night, and we're going to show you what it was. At 4:00 a.m., Ukraine launched a precision strike on Zelenaya Dolina, a fortified Russian base in Donetsk. The operation began with 200 US-made drones enhanced by Ukrainian engineers to jam enemy radar. Within 90 seconds, Russia's air defense systems S-300 Tor M2 and Panzer S-1 were completely blinded. With radar disabled, 72 guided missiles were fired from mobile launchers 25 miles away. These missiles, including US-supplied GMLRs and Ukraine's Vilka, struck critical air defense positions. 17 Russian launchers were destroyed in under 5 minutes. Next came 15 F-15 fighter jets in tight formation, armed with HARM anti-radar missiles and JDAM precision bombs targeting fuel depots, ammunition bunkers, and command centers. An explosion from a hit on an ammo bunker lit up the sky and produced a shockwave felt miles away. According to Ukrainian defense sources, over 30 strategic structures were leveled in the first 12 minutes. The Russian command center at Zelenaya Dolina, the hub coordinating attacks across eastern Ukraine, was obliterated. Communications were severed. Air defenses went offline. Fuel and ammunition supplies were wiped out. This wasn't a chaotic battlefield assault. It was a meticulously planned, step-by-step strike designed to dismantle every layer of defense before ground forces moved in. And it succeeded. As the first Ukrainian tanks advanced, Russia's frontline defenses crumbled. Ukraine didn't just strike hard, it struck smart, leveraging US technology, real-time satellite guidance, and seamless unit coordination. The message was clear: Ukraine was reclaiming Zelenaya Dolina on its own terms. What followed was not just a ground assault, but a perfectly timed, multi-layered attack. Could tanks really advance through a battlefield still ablaze by 4:15 a.m.? The sky over Zelenaya Dolina was still aglow from airstrikes. But Ukraine's second phase had begun as Russian defenses shattered and communication lines descended into chaos. 50 armored vehicles, including 20 Leopard 2 tanks and 30 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, advanced in a three-pronged attack formation. Each armored unit moved under the cover of reconnaissance drones circling overhead. These drones connected in real time to battlefield command centers via US-supplied military-grade Starlink terminals scanned every inch of the terrain. Their thermal sensors detected enemy movements in bunkers, tree lines, and trenches, instantly relaying coordinates to tank crews and drone strike teams. The primary objective was to seize the main road leading to the southern gate of the Russian base. At 4:19 a.m., Leopard tanks fired their first rounds. The 120 mm shells tore through the abandoned Russian fortifications. Explosions sent concrete, steel, and debris flying in all directions under the dawn light. Within minutes, Ukrainian armored vehicles breached the perimeter fencing. Close behind, 5,000 Ukrainian infantry advanced in staggered formation. These were not ordinary riflemen. Each soldier was equipped with advanced optics, digital communication systems, and M4A1 carbines. Some units carried javelin launchers and compact suicide drones packed in modular backpacks. Resistance was weak and disorganized. Russian soldiers cut off from Central Command attempted to regroup around a fuel depot in the eastern sector, but Ukrainian coordination was relentless. A swarm of drones pinpointed the gathering, and within 6 minutes, artillery from the rear obliterated the position with high explosive rounds. Over 60 Russian soldiers were confirmed eliminated before they could fire a shot. By 4:32 a.m., Ukrainian forces had fully secured the eastern barracks. There, they discovered caches of ammunition fuel and encrypted radio equipment. Engineers quickly marked these stockpiles for extraction, while frontline units pressed north toward the command bunker. In the western sector, 2 Russian armored vehicles attempted a counterattack. They didn't make it past the second street. A Ram 2 suicide drone upgraded for armor penetration dove from 600 feet and detonated directly above the lead vehicle. The second was disabled by a tow missile from a Bradley fired with pinpoint accuracy. Within 30 minutes, the base was cleared room by room. UAVs flew into hangars streaming live footage. Infantry teams cleared tunnels and bunkers. Ukrainian flags began appearing on buildings once marked with Russian symbols. Zelenaya Dolina, once a symbol of Russian strength in Donetsk, was now reduced to rubble reclaimed with disciplined coordination and overwhelming firepower. The assault ran like clockwork. We've seen how the Ukrainian military executed their attack. But what happened when Russia attempted a counterattack by 4:40 a.m.? Russian defensive lines had descended into complete chaos. What began as a calculated defense the previous day had now turned into a battlefield of silence, smoke, and panic. Do you want to know the outcome of this battle? If yes, leave a comment with the number 2. If not, leave the number 5. Russian infantry cut off from their commanders received no orders. Their tactical radios were jammed by Ukraine's drone-based electronic warfare systems. Mobile command posts were destroyed within the first hour. Most soldiers on the ground didn't even know the positions of their own units. A Russian motorized rifle platoon attempted to regroup near a warehouse in the northwest sector, but as they gathered, Ukrainian drones marked their position. At 4:46 a.m., a precision airstrike hit the target. The warehouse collapsed in flames. 23 Russian soldiers were killed instantly. The survivors scattered into the nearby forest with no cover, no support, and no means of communication. Panic spread rapidly. A Russian sergeant was captured by Ukrainian infantry near the command tunnel. During interrogation, he admitted they lost satellite communication within the first 10 minutes of the attack. Requests for air support were ignored, jammed, or intercepted, and their retreat routes had been pre-mined by Ukrainian engineers days earlier. Russian armored forces fared no better. A battalion of 6 BMPs and 3 T-72 tanks attempted to advance through the western corridor, but a swarm of Ukrainian drones programmed to hunt heat signatures struck first. One T-72 was hit by a grenade payload dropped from a Ram-2 drone, detonating its ammunition rack. The explosion leveled an entire street. Nearby units abandoned their vehicles and fled on foot, leaving equipment behind. Russian commanders attempted to organize a counterattack from a bunker in the eastern sector. But at 4:58 a.m., the bunker took a direct hit from a JDAM bomb dropped by an F-15. The explosion killed 2 colonels and a general, the last remaining leadership in Zelenaya Dolina. By 5:00 a.m., Russian soldiers either surrendered, fled into the countryside, or fell silent. The entire front collapsed in less than an hour. This was not just a defeat. It was the collapse of Russian military structure, coordination, and morale. Zelenaya Dolina became a nightmare with the enemy everywhere and no orders forthcoming. At 5:03 a.m., Ukrainian ground forces launched the final phase of the operation, a coordinated 3-pronged sweep across the entire Zelenaya Dolina base. The objective was simple: eliminate all remaining resistance and secure every square meter of territory. The Russian forces, now leaderless and surrounded, had no room to maneuver. Drones continued circling overhead, identifying pockets of Russian soldiers attempting to flee or regroup. Within minutes, target data was relayed to forward artillery units and precision strike teams. At 5:07 a.m., a group of Russian soldiers retreating toward a tunnel entrance in the northern sector was hit by a GMLRS missile. 18 soldiers were killed instantly. The explosion collapsed the tunnel entrance, trapping at least 40 others inside. Elsewhere, a group of Russian engineers attempted to destroy sensitive equipment before capture. They didn't get the chance. A low-flying suicide drone with thermal sensors silently hovered overhead and dropped a grenade payload, eliminating the entire team. The rubble later revealed encrypted radios, missile codes, and tactical maps, all intact, and now in Ukrainian hands. By 5:12 a.m., Ukraine's 2nd Mechanized Brigade reached the Central Command Complex, once the heart of Russia's occupation in Donetsk. The area had already been struck by F-15s, but underground bunkers remained. Combat engineers deployed small-wheeled reconnaissance drones, streaming live footage to command. What they found was staggering: dozens of Russian bodies, including 4 senior officers, crushed under reinforced concrete after a JDAM bomb collapsed the structure. The final organized Russian counterattack occurred at 5:16 a.m., when 2 BTR armored vehicles attempted to breach the southern wall to create a retreat corridor. One was destroyed by a Javelin missile at 300 meters. The second was disabled by a tank round seconds later. Only 3 survivors emerged, all wounded. With no leadership, no communication, and no supplies, Russian garrison forces began abandoning their positions en masse. Ukrainian forces moved in methodically, clearing each building. Resistance was minimal. By 5:28 a.m., Zelenaya Dolina was fully under Ukrainian control. The Russian losses were catastrophic: over 740 soldiers killed or captured, 12 tanks, destroyed, 6 artillery batteries eliminated, and more than 100 weapon systems seized. For the Kremlin, this was not just a military defeat. It was a message: Ukraine can strike deep, plan smarter, and finish what it starts with precision, speed, and overwhelming force. At 5:35 a.m., a team of Ukrainian infantry climbed onto the roof of the main administrative building, once the command center of the Russian occupation forces. With smoke still rising from destroyed barracks and fuel depots, they raised the blue and yellow Ukrainian flag over Zelenaya Dolina. The image was deeply symbolic. For nearly a year, the base had been Russia's forward headquarters in Donetsk. Now it was nothing but rubble and ash. As Ukrainian forces secured the perimeter, logistics teams moved in to assess the seized assets. What they found shocked even military analysts. Inside fortified bunkers were over 70 armored vehicles, including 14 operational T-72 tanks. They recovered 140 crates of 152 artillery shells, dozens of encrypted radios, and over 60,000 rounds of ammunition. An entire stockpile of Russian military equipment was now in Ukrainian hands. Drone footage of the battle, later released by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense, captured every phase of the assault, from the initial radar jamming to the clearing of the final building. It spread rapidly online. International outlets like CNN, BBC, and Reuters described the operation as one of the most effective combined arms attacks in modern European warfare. At 9:00 a.m., the president of Ukraine issued a public statement declaring Zelenaya Dolina fully liberated. The speech was brief but pointed. "This land is ours. We took it back not with words, but with actions." U.S. officials praised the operation as a model of 21st century warfare. According to Pentagon sources, the assault was the clearest evidence that Ukrainian ground forces, backed by Western technology and battlefield innovation, could outmaneuver and overwhelm a larger enemy. By the end of the day, Russian channels remained silent about the losses. No official figures were released, but internal estimates suggested Russia's total casualties, killed, wounded, and captured, exceeded 1,000 soldiers. Ukraine's reported losses were under 90. Zelenaya Dolina was more than a battlefield. It became proof that with coordination, technology, and resolve, Ukraine could turn the tide. It was a victory felt not just in Donetsk, but around the world. Zelenaya Dolina was not just a battlefield, it was a turning point. In under an hour, Ukraine executed one of the most precise, high-tech combined arms operations ever seen in modern warfare. 200 drones, 15 fighter jets, 50 armored vehicles, and 5,000 infantry moved as a synchronized machine, dismantling Russia's strongest position in Donetsk. The numbers tell a story of dominance: over 1,000 Russian casualties, dozens of armored vehicles destroyed, and a massive weapons cache seized intact. Ukraine didn't just reclaim land, they shattered the myth of Russian invincibility. This was no lucky victory. It was planned, rehearsed, and executed with U.S. support, battlefield discipline, and Ukrainian courage. In less than an hour, they rewrote history, turning an impregnable Russian fortress into ash and planting the Ukrainian flag on homeland soil. But what do you think about this operation? What made it exceptional? The flawless coordination, cutting-edge technology, or the courage of Ukraine's warriors? Leave a comment below, share your thoughts, and let us know which story you want to explore next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss epic stories like this. See you soon.